Today we're going to be changing the gear lube on this Mercruiser Alpha 1 Gen 2 stern drive. We changed the gear lube as part of our winterizing procedure. The reason for that being that we want to make sure that you're not getting any water into your lower unit. You have gears and bearings and shafts that run from the upper unit all the way down into your lower gear case. You want to protect them from water over the winter. If you get a little bit of say fishing line through wrapped up around your propeller, you wouldn't even know about it, but it'll cut open the seal on your prop shaft. That's a very common place to get water in, as is on the Alpha drive underneath your water pump, which is inside the housing. So changing the gear oil at the end of your boating season ensures that lets you know if you've been getting any water in there, and it gets that water out before it's had all winter to cause corrosion and damage in there. It will, if you've got water in your gear lube, it will lead to rusty bearings and gears and shafts, which ends up as a catastrophic failure. So we change our gear lube every year at the end of the season, making sure there's no water. If we find water in the gear case when we change the gear lube, we take the drive off for the winter and we reseal it over the winter, find out where the water is getting in, and replace the seals. Generally, we replace all of them if something's getting water in, but if something's obviously damaged, we'll just replace the one. Let's get started on a gear lube change for a Alpha 1 Gen 2. Alpha 1 Gen 2 has a gear lube monitor mounted in the engine compartment. This right here is your gear lube monitor, and it's got gear lube in it. This lets you know if you've got a leak through the winter or through the summer while you're using the boat. You can monitor the level. There's also a float within the gear lube monitor, so if the level gets too low, an alarm will sound on your dash letting you know that there's a problem. So the first thing to do before changing your gear lube is remove the cap so it vents a little easier. And that will help it drain out the bottom of the stern drive. So to begin with, after you've removed the cap from your gear lube monitor in the engine bay, we come down to the very bottom of our stern drive there, and right here we have a drain plug. So we shall get down here with a big screwdriver. Make sure that you're in there nice and tight. I use a little wrench just to help loosen it. And remove that drain plug. As you can see, we've got pretty black oil there, not surprising after a summer of running. Your exhaust runs through the lower unit and gets your gear lube pretty hot, on top of the fact that just the load of the gears and everything like that. So that's not too bad. There's a little magnet on the end of your drain plug there. And there's a little bit of metal, not unusual for a Merc stern drive. This is actually pretty nice. So now we just sit and wait for this to drain. It takes quite a while, 20 minutes or so. While that's draining, I usually change the engine oil or get started on the engine oil change as well. Okay, we are draining our gear lube here. It's black. It's got 65 hours on it this summer. So that's not too bad. There's no water in this oil. If there was water in this oil, it would look like a chocolate milkshake. It would be very milky. But it's very clean. Just been worked hard this year. So we've drained enough now that our gear lube monitor bottle in the engine room is empty. So at that point, I then take out this vent plug, which is at the top of the gear housing, and that'll help the gear lube drain a whole lot faster. Let's see if we can just set the camera up here and get it tilted up. There we go. So we'll just take this top drain plug out. If we waited until the, if we took that drain plug out before the gear lube monitor was empty, there'd be gear lube dribbling out of there, making a mess everywhere. Another important part when you're changing your gear lube is to make sure that the old gasket, the old seal comes out. You don't want to stack a new seal on there on top of the old one, because they will split and then you will definitely have a water leak. You'll be getting water into your lower unit. So that's the old drain plug gasket there. We replace them every time that we change the gear lube, just as a matter of course. I always make sure that they, you probably can't see where I'm marking there, it's a little dark. But I always make sure the old ones are out of there so that they don't get caught up under the new one. Okay, so we're back. Our gear lube has drained out of the gear case, and we're going to continue with pumping some fresh gear lube into our lower unit. We pump the gear lube in from the bottom, up through the tiny little passageways and through all your bearings and gears up to the top of the housing. And that way you ensure that you've filled the gear case correctly. You can't fill these from the top. It's pretty much impossible to do it. The passageways are too small and you'd get too many air pockets in there and you would just starve your bearings of oil. So we pump it from the bottom. And to do that, we use this lower unit pump. Screws right on top of your 1 liter bottle, and you pump it right in. These are very inexpensive. It's the exact same one that I use pretty much every day in the shop here for all of our different lower units that we pump gear lube into. Today we're using Quicksilver high performance gear lube. We use this in the majority of our lower units. It's got great corrosion inhibitor in it. So if you are getting water in your lower unit, it helps protect the bearings and gears. We've had great luck with it, used it for many, many years. So that's what we'll be using today. So to begin with, we take our little adapter here and we screw that right into our drain hole there, just like that. Then we take the hose from our pump, slip that over the end there, and literally just start pumping away. Now these little gear lube pumps take a little bit longer than the big commercial units that a lot of the big shops use, but I've found that I can monitor how much oil the bottom takes a whole lot better. We work on all sorts of different boats here and lower units, and I can't remember how much each one takes. So we use this, and we pump the gear lube in from the bottom until it comes out of the vent hole at the top. So we'll just keep on pumping until we get some gear oil dribbling out of there. Okay, we are just going to continue pumping here, almost up to the top. And there we see the gear lube starting to come out of our vent hole. So this is at the top of the stern drive. So now, let's see if we can do this. We take, where's the camera? take a new drain plug gasket, and we are going to put that onto our drain plug, our vent plug. The vent plug doesn't have a magnet in it. And we will screw that into our vent here to block that up. So that has filled our lower unit with gear lube. We've pumped it in from the bottom, and it's gone all the way up through the little passage on the side and up into our upper gear case, but we have not filled our monitor bottle in the engine room. So I'm just going to snug that up here with a screwdriver. There we go. And then what I do is, now that I know I've got oil up to this level, I pump about another 100 milliliters in until I start to see it coming in at the monitor bottle in the engine room. Okay, so now we're back in our engine room here, and I have, let's see if I can get the camera down there. I have gear lube showing in the gear lube monitor now. It was empty before. So that tells me that I've pumped gear lube all the way through. Let's see if I can point to it and light it up. Let's see. Through this little hose here that comes from the stern drive, I've pumped all the air bubbles out of that circuit from the stern drive into the gear lube monitor here. So now when I top up the gear lube monitor, I know that there's no air bubbles in the system that are going to give me a false reading. Okay, and now the super tricky part. We try and do this without making too much of a mess. We have our drain plug, and we have a new gasket, which we put on there, just like that. So now we got a drain plug with a brand new gasket on there every time. Now we take the hose off. We're going to lose a little bit, but we want to lose as little as possible here. I plug that with my finger. Unscrew our fitting. And put the drain plug in. And that worked really great for the camera, which is good. Get the screwdriver. Oh, we got to remember to tighten this up. Do not leave that loose. And again, I use the wrench, making sure my screwdriver's in there properly and square. And I just snug that up. Okay, I'm back into the boat again, and we are going to top up our gear lube monitor with the same Quicksilver gear lube that we were pumping in the bottom. See if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time and not spill anything. And we fill that up to the operating level line right there. Now it's the end of the season here. This boat's going to sit all winter with fresh gear lube in it. And in the spring, when we spring commission it, we will check the gear lube level in case there were any little air bubbles or whatever. But that's about all there is to a gear lube change on an Alpha 1 Gen 2. That's that. We used 1.8 liters of gear lube. If you're not sure how much gear lube your particular combination is going to need, you can just give us a call or send us an email. We have charts with all the popular makes and models, so we can sell you the right amount. I'm going to continue on with the rest of my winterizing. Thanks for watching.